Supergirl Season 2, Episode 5, Crossfire. I really enjoyed this episode because I thought it was a nice, funny episode, mostly with Mon-El, who goes by, I want to say Mark Matthew, or something like that, Mark Matthews, or whatever. I thought he had some really hilarious stuff, him and Miss Teschmacher. Basically, he's just like a horny dude. That's like his thing, like the whole episode is that he just wants to have sex with women, and then they do the thing at the end of the episode where he gets a guide as to, where he should work and stuff, and he's like, oh, what's a strip club? And it's like, well, let's just get, let's get that out of there. So, it's definitely funny with him. And then we have Jimmy in this episode where he wants to be a superhero and stuff, and he's not exactly good at it. He gets those people's apartments completely destroyed, because if those guys robbed the place and nobody was there to stop them, that wouldn't have happened. So he has to go in, save somehow only like 5 people out of an entire apartment building, so a lot of people were dead in there. But he wants to be this hero, and of course Win finds out because it was kind of obvious, and he's keeping a secret at this point, and Jimmy is like, hey, I got a black belt and stuff, which makes him even cooler, which makes him even less typical Jimmy Olsen. But he's like, hey, I got a black belt, you got the technology, you can build me a suit and stuff like that, and we can make this work, we can kind of level the playing field a little. So they're kind of going that route, and things are headed down an interesting road. They had a little hint to it, I won't spoil it because I've seen a picture of the costume and stuff like that, so they kind of had a hint of it. Because he kind of uses that one thing as a shield when he gets hit with the gun. Something like that's kind of a part of it. He does have like a bit of a shield. So I was like, oh, that's a cool reference because I know what the suit's going to end up looking like. But I don't know. It was interesting to see in this episode because also we just haven't had a lot of Jimmy. This is like the first episode where we really even got more than like 1 or 2 scenes with him. So I was kind of happy about that because now that Win doesn't work for Catco anymore, and Cat Grant isn't there to like be mad at Kara, we don't really see a lot of Catco. Like even with her doing the reporter thing, the whole point of that was so that she didn't have to be in the office. She could be everywhere, and she's kind of doing her job all the time. So it's like that was kind of just the point of that, was to get further away from Catco as a common occurrence in all the episodes. So because of that, they moved Win from there already, and now he works at the DEO. Kara, of course, she still works there, but she can be out all the time. It's like, oh, that leaves Jimmy there all day, so we don't ever really get to see him because no one's there anymore. So I was happy that we got to see a bit of that, and it's like, alright, we never get to see Cat go. We don't have Cat Grant at all anymore. She's like totally gone, which really surprised me. Like I knew she, they mentioned like, oh, I'm gonna take some breaks and stuff. I didn't think she'd be like just gone 100%. I thought they'd at least do one episode where Jimmy would take over and Cat Grant would at least still be in that episode. Like when he did take over, I'm pretty sure she wasn't in that episode at all either. So I was surprised how they did her transition where she's just out of the show 100%. So we don't have Catco that often. So I was happy that we got to see a lot of Jimmy. He's doing his fighting. He's trying to do everything he can to help and stuff. But it'll be interesting as they kind of push forward, with him being a bit of a superhero. So we'll see how it all plays out. I can't say 100% that I'm just like, this is going to be great. I'm still kind of in the boat of, it's just not Jimmy Olsen. It's really weird that they made Jimmy like the really cool character and stuff. So I'm still a little bit on that nerdy boat of, like that's not what the character's like. But I still like what they're doing with him. I am curious to see where they take it. Like I said, the stuff with Mon-El was funny in this episode, and Kara trying to teach him to be, just like her, and she gives him like the preppy suit and stuff like that, and the glasses and everything. So, excuse me. It's just like, all right, I was happy that they didn't do that officially, because when it first started, I was like, oh, I kind of hate this. Like, I know that it's meant to be kind of campy, because like Kara doing the Superman thing, like they went with that 100%. Like it's literally just the glasses, and I was like, oh, I kind of hate that they're doing that. But considering that's what they're doing, he'd have to wear a mask if he was going to do anything. So it kind of makes sense. I was like, all right, the glasses thing actually makes sense. But I didn't want him to be exactly like her and just like Clark, where they're all 3 of them like the superhero people. are just like, you know, preppy and they wear glasses and they have to act like nerds and stuff. So I was glad as it continued on, Alex was telling Kara like, hey, I wanted you to be exactly like me and you're not, and he's not exactly like you, so you have to let him figure out where he's going to decide to work and stuff like that. So I was happy it ended that way, because I was like, I'm glad they aren't doing that where he does end up just like them and he's like, you know, acting super preppy and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see where they take his character, and I feel like the perfect position for him would be like a bouncer or working at a bar or something, but we'll have to see where he lands. So that should actually be pretty fun to see, you know, how all that stuff plays out. And then the other really big story in this episode was actually Alex herself and her sexuality. And I didn't mention this because I just kept freaking forgetting to talk about it, but I noticed it like in the first episode when this woman showed up. It was clear that they were making a couple of hints, like, okay, she, you know, Alex, might be interested in this agent. And I just kept forgetting to talk about it because of other random crap happening in the episode. And this time it was actually like a main focus in the episode, but the other times I was noticing it and I just kept forgetting because it would just be like, oh, here's just a scene and she gives a meaningful look or something, and I would just forget those meaningful scenes when you were doing, like, you know, Miss Martian came into the show. It's like, I'm going to forget about, you know, Alex about to be with somebody. It's like, whatever, Miss Martian's in the show now. So I just kept forgetting. So I was glad it was a main part of this episode because I wanted to talk about it. And I like what they're doing with it. It seems, and I like the fact that they actually had it in the episode. Like, they do that in some shows, and it's kind of hidden away a little bit, and it's not really just flat out said, like, hey, I think you might be gay, or something like that. It's typically just like, oh, this happens, and then the other person doesn't realize it, but it was super realistic. Like, Alex was talking to her, she's just trying to hang out with her, and she's like, you know, I guess I read you wrong, I didn't know you were in the girls, and it was just out there, and I was like, I like that they did it that way, because normally it's kind of on the back burner, and it's like, I might have feelings for this person, and typically the character figures it out themselves, which even that is entertaining to watch, but to have it just flat out be called out, and Alex like really think about it, it's like, she has to consider her sexuality, that she might be bisexual. I thought that was interesting. Or, well, they say gay in the episode, but I would assume, because she kind of had that thing, even though that was all fake with Maxwell Lord, who's like disappeared. That was all like kind of to spy on him, but they kind of had, they still did have like a bit of a thing. So, you know, like the girl just assumed that she was gay, but it could be that she's bisexual. But I like that she was called out on it, and it was like, oh, I'm not gay, and it's like, huh. You'd be amazed how many gay girls I've actually heard that from. And I was like, that's actually cool that they just have it out there, and then Alex does consider it, and she's like, you know, I personally, at least at this point, I don't know 100%, but you might be right about what you said about me. And I thought that was cool. And it's like she realizes that it's just something, like she's just never met a woman like that where she felt that way. So I like the way that they're kind of going about it, where she's like, you know, I've never had these feelings for a woman before, but I might for you. So I might have these feelings that might actually be something that interests me. So she just has to consider it, and she has to kind of go through that. I don't know, I highly doubt it, but I don't know if that would somehow lead her to being, you know, to meeting up with Maxwell Lord again. I really don't even remember what happened to him. I don't think he's in prison. I think he actually helped them. He, you know, that was always his thing, the back and forth. But I don't know. I thought that was cool. I was like, I like the way that they played it. And I'm curious to see how it continues. I assume that they're going to end up together. That's just my guess. But it might be an episode or two, and Alex has to really consider, like, you know, she could be bisexual. If she, you know, they don't ever talk about her relationships ever, really. So, you know, she might kind of go through that, and it's like, you know, I only dated boys, but that's because I never really felt this way for a woman. So now that I do I want to explore that? So I thought, you know, like I said, the way that they did it, I thought was really well done. As far as other relationship stuff, they somewhat hint, I don't know if this is going to be useful or not, but it seemed like they were kind of hinting Wynn and Lena Luthor together, which I was like, huh, that's kind of interesting, because they, you know, like Lena shows up and she's just another Luthor and she's trying to be the good Luthor, but in this episode it was like, no, she set up a trap for them and she's able to make like this energy bomb basically, and she and Win kind of work together to do it. And I was like, that's interesting, you know, like that added a new layer to her character in general, because sure, she can come up with some plans or something like that, like when they have the like the alien detector thing. It was like, okay, yeah, she can have that idea, or someone can come up with it and she funds it and then they sell it as a company. But she was literally working on this bomb herself, and I was like, that shows how smart that she is on a more personal level. She's not just a great businesswoman, she is just intellectually smart, and she can do the technological stuff herself if need be. So it seemed like it was just a little comedy thing, with when he's like, oh, like we fixed it and stuff. But this could lead to something, for Wynn and Lena, which would also be interesting because, of course, the head of Cadmus ends up being Lena's mother. So that I thought was great. I knew that was going to happen. Of course, she showed up, and I'm like, it's going to be your mom. That is literally all of television. If the villain shows up, it's like, oh, hey, Dad, or hey, Mom. That's how it always is. I think there was something that happened this season where finally it was just like a cousin or an uncle or something. I think that may have been like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it was just an uncle. I was like, oh, for once, it's not just flat out the mom or dad. But, of course, it ends up being the mother. So, the head of Cadmus is Lena Luthor, and I guess Lex Luthor's mother, unless they're doing it where that's her biological mom and she knows that, because she's older now and she found her original family or whatever. So she knows that that's her mom, her biological mother, but she doesn't have that much of an attachment to her even after she found her. So that could be how they do it, which I think would be a very interesting dynamic if that's how they decide to do it, where she's not, her mother was never a Luthor or anything, but that's like her actual biological mother, and she's like, yeah, well, I was adopted into this family, and then even after I found you, you didn't really want much to do with me, so that's why they still have a strained relationship. They didn't find each other and it was like, holy crap, we can actually be a family now. They found each other and it was still like, my mom actually kind of sucks, so I don't want to be a part of her family. So it would be cool if they did that. I would actually prefer that than that be like just her adopted mom. That would just be a very interesting element to it. Like, this is her actual mother that she's found in the past, but they still don't have a great relationship. I would love it to be that, because I feel like that's very unique. I don't think that's something I've ever seen before, but I'm excited to see where they take it. They got Cadmus, they have the connection to the Luthors, which is actually a bit akin to the comics anyway, because Lex kind of works with Cadmus in general. He may own a part of it. It's Lex Luthor. It's either him or it's Bruce Wayne. It's like, if it's DZ, it's Bruce Wayne owns a part of it or Lex Luthor owns a part of it. So it'll be cool to see where they take it, but I enjoyed this episode. I am excited to see what they do with Jimmy, even though he's so different from who he's supposed to be. I am excited to see where they take his character and kind of his crime-fighting stuff. Mon-El has to figure out where he fits in life. Alex has to figure out, her personal struggles right now, and it's not really much of a struggle, just her feelings towards this person. So I like how they're doing it. I think the character growth was actually fairly well done in this episode. Also pretty funny as far as Mon-El. But I'm excited to see where they take it, of course. Definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And now that they've done the sort of epic reveal that Lena Luthor is the daughter of the head of Cadmus, where do you guys think they'll be taking that? Because I would assume that the first thing that's going to come out of this woman's mouth is, hey, that alien registration thing you got, why don't you just shoot that on my way and let me take over and do some evil stuff with that. So that's what I feel. I think she's just going to try to use her daughter to get new technology that Cadmus doesn't already have. So that's my theory on it, but I want to know yours and what you guys thought about the episode in general. So like I said, please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.